war. This commemoration, coming 60 years after the end of the war, included special performances of a new musical work by a Canadian composer. Ruth Fazal is a Christian and a violinist who didn't know much about the Holocaust and who's never before composed a massive piece for orchestra and 2 choirs. But she was inspired by reading a book with the poems and artwork of Jewish children from the Terezin ghetto in Czechoslovakia, and she created the Oratorio Terezin. Iris Mackler was at the premiere in Jerusalem.
I kind of call it a divine commission because I don't really have another name for it, because I'm not a composer. I wasn't looking for a piece to write. I'm a violinist. I'm a Christian, and what I felt was that God was saying, I want you to take some of these poems and weave them together with the Hebrew scriptures to portray my heart in the midst of this suffering.
Canadian violinist Ruth Fazal took on that divine commission, although she knew very little about the Holocaust, before a friend gave her a book of poems written by Jewish children from the ghetto at Terezin. It was called I Never Saw Another Butterfly.
What was it about these poems from the Heart of Darkness that so touched you?
I think it was that intrinsic childlike hope, and yet also the recognition of the situation that they were in. A simple statement like, I'd like to go back home again. It makes me think of sweet spring flowers. There's this constant sense of longing, and I think I touched in my own heart. I could feel and sense the longing of the child for goodness.
Of 15,000 children in Terezin, less than 100 survived. Renowned Israeli artist Yehuda Bakon is one of them. He also survived the death camp at Auschwitz, though his parents and one sister perished there.
Let's say hate and revenge, that's very human, but it's not a solution. If I would continue to hate, Hitler would win, because he would poison, this poison would go further on.
The children whose poems appear in the Oratorio were Bakon's friends. Bakon drew and painted even in Terezin and helped to curate an exhibition of the children's drawings when they were first discovered in the 1960s. Set in tears throughout Ruth Fazal's musical adaptation of his friends' words, seeing them and the ghetto again.
It is a miracle that at least this voice from the grave still reach us. And then you see the power of art, which adds something more. In a way, it is a sad satisfaction.
Such yellow is carried lightly way up high. It went away, I'm sure.
You know, the young boy Jakey Young, that all people in Toronto will certainly, in the Jewish community there, will know Jakey, with just an amazingly beautiful voice. And he is such a a bright young man with such a sense of who he is.
I never saw another butterfly. That butterfly was the last one.
Toronto schoolboy Jakey Young is 12 years old, almost the same age Yehuda Bakun was when he was deported to Terezin. Jakey Young also sang in the Oratorio's European tour last year. They performed in the Vienna Concert Hall, where in the 1930s, Adolf Hitler held his Nazi party rallies.
And I had to say that it was just such a victory, because there was this little Jewish boy standing on the stage where Hitler had his parties, and my parents and my family were sitting in the seats where he would have been sitting. So it's as if it was our victory.